This video is about the single mom walked into the bus stop and a billionaire smiled at her. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts and comments. ## the single mom walked into the bus stop and a billionaire smiled at her. ## Part 1. The city's bustle hummed like a soundtrack, blending laughter, honking horns, and distant sirens. At the bus stop, beneath the grey overcast sky, a woman stood, her fingers tapping impatiently against the plastic strap of her worn-out handbag. Clara Thompson was well acquainted with the rhythm of life in the city. She was a single mom who had learned to survive amid chaos. Her brown hair, usually swept back in a hasty bun, was now escaping its confines in soft tendrils. She looked around, her hazel eyes scanning for any sign of her son, Lucas. The street was alive with the sounds of people rushing to and fro, but Clara's heart was tethered to her son, a constant beat in her chest. "Mom, can we go to the park after school?" Lucas had asked that morning, his bright blue eyes lighting up with hope. She had promised him the world, but each day felt like a struggle to keep those promises. As the bus approached, a bright yellow beast against the grey sky, Clara inhaled deeply, trying to shake off the weight of worry. She glanced down at her phone, a simple device that had seen better days, the screen cracked and flickering. It reminded her of the fragile balance she was trying to maintain between work, bills, and being the best mother she could be. Just then, a man stepped into her line of sight. He was tall, clad in a sharp navy suit that seemed to fit him like a second skin. His dark hair was styled effortlessly, and as he caught her gaze, he offered a smile that lit up his entire face. For a fleeting moment, her heart skipped a rare, unexpected flutter. "Looks like we were both waiting for the bus," he said, his voice rich and smooth, laced with an unmistakable charm. Clara blinked, caught off guard. "Yes, it seems that way." She shifted her weight, suddenly aware of her unkempt appearance. "I am Ethan," he said, extending a hand. The warmth of his touch sent a spark through her, prompting her to glance up at him more fully. His deep green eyes held a glint of mischief, and Clara felt an inexplicable pull toward him. "Clara," she replied, shaking his hand. It felt both formal and intimate, a brief connection that ignited something long dormant inside her. "You come here often?" he quipped, the corners of his mouth curving into a teasing smile. "Not as often as I'd like," she replied, her voice playful despite her reservations. "But it is part of the routine." "The routine," he echoed, a hint of curiosity in his tone. "What does that entail?" Clara hesitated. Sharing too much felt risky, especially with someone who seemed so out of her league. "You know, work, school runs, and trying to keep a 6-year-old entertained." He leaned slightly closer, as if genuinely interested. "Sounds like a lot of adventure packed into one day." "Adventure is one way to put it," she replied, unable to suppress a smile. "Chaos is another." "I can relate to that," Ethan said, his gaze steady. "Sometimes my life feels like a whirlwind of meetings and deadlines." There was something magnetic about him, maybe it was the way he listened, as if her words mattered. Clara felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in years, attraction. Before she could process it, the bus pulled up with a hiss of brakes. Ethan stepped back, allowing other passengers to board before gesturing for Clara to go ahead. "Ladies first," he said, his tone light but sincere. "Thank you," she murmured, her cheeks warming under his gaze. She stepped onto the bus, glancing back to see him following behind, his presence feeling both comforting and thrilling. They settled into 2 seats across from each other, the bus vibrating gently as it pulled away from the stop. Clara tried to focus on the city passing by, but her thoughts kept drifting back to Ethan. She had never been one to entertain fleeting crushes, let alone a conversation with a handsome stranger. "Tell me about your son," Ethan said, breaking the brief silence. "His name is Lucas," she said, her heart swelling with pride. "He is in 1st grade and thinks he is the king of the world." "Sounds like a character," he replied, his smile widening. "What does he enjoy?" "Anything with wheels and a lot of energy. He loves playing soccer and video games. I am pretty sure he is going to be a professional athlete one day." Ethan chuckled. "You resetting the bar high for him?" "Why not?" Clara shot back, her tone playful. "I believe in dreaming big." "Good philosophy," he said, his eyes warming. "And how about you? What do you dream of?" His question caught her off guard, and Clara hesitated, searching for an honest answer. "I suppose I want to be a good mother, provide for Lucas, and give him opportunities I didn't have." He nodded, his expression shifting to something more serious. "That is admirable." A comfortable silence settled between them, filled with the sounds of the bus and the chatter of passengers. Clara could feel the chemistry simmering just beneath the surface, unspoken understanding building like an invisible thread connecting them. As they approached her stop, Clara's stomach twisted with a mix of excitement and dread. "This is me," she said, glancing back at Ethan. "Mind if I walk you to the park?" he asked, his voice rich with genuine intent. Sure," she replied, surprised at herself for agreeing so easily. They stepped off the bus, and as they walked side by side, the city transformed from a backdrop of noise to a cocoon of quiet possibilities. Clara couldn't help but steal glances at Ethan, noting the way he carried himself with an effortless confidence. "Do you always chat up strangers at bus stops?" she teased, trying to break the tension. "Only the intriguing ones," he shot back, his eyes sparkling with playful mischief. Clara felt her cheeks flush again, laughter bubbling up as they neared the small park where she often took Lucas. "Well, I appreciate the compliment." "I mean it," he said, his tone softening. "There is something refreshing about authenticity." "Authenticity is a luxury these days," she replied, her voice taking on a more serious note. "People tend to wear masks." "True," he agreed, his expression thoughtful. "But I find it is often the vulnerable moments that lead to meaningful connections." His gaze held hers, and for a brief moment time seemed to stretch. "Meaningful connections can be hard to come by," Clara admitted, her heart racing. "Especially for someone like me." "Someone like you," he echoed, curiosity piqued. "Single mom, surviving on my own," she said, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her voice. "It can be isolating." "I can imagine that," he said, sincerity coloring his words. "But I admire your strength." "Strength is sometimes just a fancy word for exhaustion," she chuckled lightly, hinting at the truth behind her struggle. Before she could say more, a familiar voice cut through the air. "Mom." Lucas came barreling toward her, his face alight with joy. "Look, I am here." "Hey, buddy." Clara knelt to his level, enveloping him in a warm hug. When she stood, she turned to Ethan, who was watching the exchange with a soft smile. "Lucas, this is Ethan. He is a friend I met at the bus stop," she introduced, feeling a twinge of nervousness. Ethan extended his hand, and Lucas shook it with wide-eyed curiosity. "Nice to meet you." "Likewise, champ," Ethan replied, his sincerity shining through. As they chatted, Clara couldn't shake the feeling of tension hanging in the air. There was something magnetic between her and Ethan, a connection that felt both thrilling and terrifying. She wondered if this brief encounter would be the spark she needed or just another fleeting moment in her busy life. "Are you going to stay and play?" Lucas asked, looking up at Ethan with innocent hope. Clara's heart raced at the thought of Ethan mingling in their world. She held her breath, half expecting him to decline. "I'd love to," he said, surprising her. The sun peeked through the clouds as they settled onto the grass, the park awash in golden light. Clara couldn't shake the feeling this wasn't just a chance meeting. It was the beginning of something, a possibility she hadn't anticipated. As laughter filled the air, Clara caught Ethan's gaze across the grassy expanse. The moment felt electric, the tension palpable. She couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead, the unfamiliar thrill of hope swirling in her chest. Hash hash hash, the single mom walked into the bus stop and a billionaire smiled at her. Hash 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 part 2. The sun hung low in the sky, a light stretching across the park in a warm embrace. Clara watched as Lucas ran off to join the other children, momentarily forgetting their earlier encounter. She turned back to Ethan, her heart fluttering with both excitement and trepidation. "So, you really do like kids?" she asked, trying to mask her surprise. "Only the ones who don't make me sit through boring lectures," he replied with a grin, his green eyes sparkling with mischief. "Wise choice," Clara said, crossing her arms as she observed Lucas. "He can talk your ear off about soccer strategies and video game levels, be prepared." Ethan laughed, the sound deep and genuine. "I can handle it. I used to be a kid once, you know." "Really? I never would guess," she teased, raising an eyebrow. "You look far too polished to have experienced childhood in any typical sense." "Ah, but that is where you're wrong," he countered, leaning in slightly, the playful banter drawing them closer. "I had my fair share of dirt stains and scraped knees. Just because I wear a suit doesn't mean I forgot how to play." Clara felt a warmth spreading through her, intrigued by this man who straddled two worlds so effortlessly. "What did you dream of back then?" "Honestly, I wanted to be an astronaut. The idea of floating through space seemed far more exciting than corporate meetings," he said, a nostalgic smile playing on his lips. "Very ambitious," Clara replied, her gaze softening. "Space is a bit different from the boardroom." True, but you'd be surprised how much strategy is involved in both. Before Clara could respond, Lucas darted back, cheeks flushed with excitement. Mom, can we get ice cream? Only if you promise to finish your homework after we get home, Clara replied, her tone both playful and firm. Deal, he shouted, running back to the playground. Looks like your son knows how to negotiate, Ethan remarked, glancing after Lucas. He has got a bright future in law if he keeps practicing like that, Clara replied, laughing lightly. A moment of silence passed between them, and she could feel the tension building again, the kind that made her heart race and her thoughts scatter. Ethan cleared his throat. What about you? What do you dream of now? Clara hesitated, caught off guard by the weight of his question. Right now, I dream of peaceful evenings and fewer bills, maybe a little time for myself. Everyone deserves that. What do you do for yourself? Not much, she admitted, the vulnerability creeping into her voice. Between work and raising Lucas, I often forget what I enjoy, what I even like. I used to love painting. It was my escape. Painting? I can picture you with a brush in hand, Ethan teased, but his eyes were serious. What happened? I don't know. Life happened, I guess. Clara sighed, glancing at the ground, frustration swelling. I let responsibilities drown out my passions. Ethan studied her for a moment, his expression contemplative. You should paint again. You seem like someone with a lot to say. Clara felt a flush of warmth, the compliment lodged deep within her chest. Thank you. Maybe someday. Just then, Lucas returned, ice cream in hand, chocolate dribbling down his chin. Look, Mom, it is amazing. Let us get a napkin on that face, champ, Clara said, trying her best to control her laughter. We wouldn't want you to get it all over your shirt. While she fished a napkin from her bag, Ethan leaned down to Lucas' eye level. So, what is your favorite flavor? Chocolate, but I want to try mint next time. I think it'll be awesome. Lucas replied, his innocence shining through. Mint is a solid choice, Ethan agreed, his tone sincere. You've got good taste, kiddo. As Lucas beamed with pride, Clara caught Ethan's gaze again, a shared moment of warmth passing between them. She felt the undeniable chemistry, but dismissed the notion that anything could come of it. After all, she was a single mom with a chaotic life, and he was Ethan, a billionaire with a world of opportunities. So, do you have any other secrets you'd like to share? Ethan asked, breaking her thoughts. Like her? Clara tilted her head, her curiosity piqued. I don't know. Favorite movies, books? She pondered. I love romantic comedies, the ones that make you believe in fairy tales, and I used to read a lot of fantasy novels. Sounds like you a dreamer at heart, he said softly, and Clara felt a strange flutter in her stomach. Maybe, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I've learned to keep my feet on the ground, for Lucas' sake. I understand, Ethan replied, the seriousness of his tone pulling her in. But there is nothing wrong with dreaming, a little escape can be refreshing. Clara nodded, feeling the weight of his words. It is just harder when you have to think of someone else all the time. He hesitated, his brow furrowing slightly. It is okay to take time for yourself too, you deserve it. Maybe, Clara conceded, her heart aching. But guilt comes easily as a single parent. Guilt is a tough opponent, Ethan acknowledged, his voice low and understanding. But don't let it rob you of your happiness. Just then, Lucas, with a triumphant grin, ran back, holding a soccer ball. Mom, can we play? Of course. Clara replied, her spirits lifting as she stood. Ethan rose beside her. Mind if I join? Not at all. Lucas exclaimed, his excitement bubbling over. They moved to a grassy patch, and Clara watched as Lucas kicked the ball toward Ethan, the two of them vying for control with infectious laughter. Clara felt a sense of ease settle over her, the worries of her day melting away as she saw Lucas thrive in the moment. Not bad for a billionaire, Ethan teased, skillfully dribbling the ball away from Lucas. Teeth. Lucas protested, his laughter ringing through the air. As they played, Clara found herself lost in the joy of the moment. She could hear snippets of their conversation, echoes of Ethan's playful banter laced with encouragement for Lucas. It was a simple scene, yet it contained a depth she hadn't realized she craved. Mom, look! Lucas shouted, kicking a goal straight past Ethan, who pretended to stumble in defeat. Impressive! Ethan exclaimed, clapping as Lucas jumped with glee. You a natural. Clara couldn't help but smile, her heart swelling with pride for her son. She looked at Ethan, whose laughter rang with genuine delight. You really know how to connect with him, she said, her voice tinged with admiration. It is easy to connect with someone so full of life, he replied, his gaze unwavering. They took a break, all three of them flopping onto the grass, breathless and exhilarated. Clara felt the sun warming her skin, the laughter of children surrounding them in a sweet cacophony. Thanks for playing, Lucas said, his voice muffled as he lay on the grass, staring up at the sky. Thanks for letting me join your game, Ethan said, his eyes sparkling as they met Clara's. The moment felt heavy with unspoken words, and the chemistry between them pulsed like a living thing, just beneath the surface. Okay, but now it is time for us to head back, Clara said reluctantly, glancing at her watch. We have dinner to prepare. Can I stay for dinner? Ethan asked suddenly, his tone filled with an eagerness that took Clara by surprise. That I? Clara faltered, caught off guard. A part of her wanted to say yes. The thought of having a meal with him felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Please, Lucas chimed in, eyes wide with hope. He has fun. Clara shot her son a warning glance. Lucas, we don't invite strangers to dinner. Maybe I am not a stranger anymore, Ethan said, his voice steady, tinged with charm. I mean, I did earn Lucas's trust. Clara hesitated, weighing her instincts against the thrill of this unexpected connection. It is just a lot, she said finally, pushing back her own desires. I understand if it is too soon, Ethan replied, his expression softening. But I'd love to get to know you both better. I promise I am not a creep. Okay, Clara relented, feeling the tension in the air shift. Dinner it is, but only if you promise to help with the dishes. A deal, he said, his grin widening, and Clara felt a flutter of excitement ripple through. Hash, the single mom walked into the bus stop and a billionaire smiled at her. Hash, part 3. As they made their way back toward Clara's apartment, Lucas bounced ahead, his energy a contagious force. The sun began its descent, casting a warm glow over the city, and Clara felt an intoxicating mix of nerves and excitement coursing through her. Are you sure about this? Clara asked Ethan, who was walking beside her, effortlessly keeping pace with Lucas's exuberance. I mean, dinner and all. Ethan glanced down at her, his green eyes bright with sincerity. I wouldn't have suggested it if I didn't want to. Besides, I genuinely enjoy spending time with you both, he replied, his voice steady and reassuring. Still, it is a big step, Clara said, feeling a twinge of doubt. Lucas doesn't meet new people often. Only the intriguing ones, right? He teased, a playful smirk dancing on his lips. His banter made her heart race, but she couldn't shake the worries nestled in the back of her mind. I hope this doesn't come back to bite me, she said, shaking her head slightly. I mean, you are well, you. Right, me, the billionaire, he responded, raising an eyebrow as they walked past a cluster of shops. And you, the amazing single mom, I think we even. Clara laughed, but her laughter was tinged with uncertainty. You make it sound easy. Life rarely is easy, Clara, he replied, his tone suddenly serious. But I believe some risks are worth taking. Lucas darted back, his eyes shining with excitement. Mom, are we having pizza? Sure are, Clara replied, her heart warming at his enthusiasm. What do you think, Ethan? I love pizza, he replied, shooting her a wink. Especially the kind that comes with a side of laughter. They reached the apartment building, and Clara's heart sank slightly as she realized this was the moment of truth. A small world had just collided with the larger one Ethan inhabited, and she wasn't sure how it would play out. All right, here we are, she said, pulling the keys from her bag. As she unlocked the door, she felt Ethan's presence close behind her, a comforting warmth that both thrilled and frightened her. The small entryway opened up into a modest living space, filled with the remnants of Lucas's toys and Clara's attempts at organization. Excuse the mess, Clara mumbled, feeling her cheeks warm. It is usually much tidier. Don't worry about it, Ethan replied, stepping in. He scanned the room with genuine interest. It is cozy. Cozy is one word for it, Clara said, her voice light, trying to ease the tension circling them. Chaotic might be another. Lucas raced into the living room, dropping his backpack on the floor. I am going to wash my hands, he shouted as he dashed toward the bathroom. Clara glanced at Ethan, who was now studying a framed photo on the side table, the three of them at a picnic last summer, Clara's face glowing with laughter. Lucas caught mid-giggle. You all look happy, Ethan noted, his voice soft as he examined the picture. That was a good day, Clara replied, her heart swelling with affection as she remembered the warmth of the sun and the simple joys they shared. Lucas found that huge pine cone and insisted it was a treasure. A treasure indeed, Ethan said, meeting her gaze. There was an intensity in his eyes that made her pulse quicken. You have a beautiful family. Just the two of us, Clara corrected gently, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her voice. It has been an adjustment. I can only imagine, he said, his expression shifting to something softer. But you seem to be doing a fantastic job. Thank you, Clara murmured, feeling the weight of his earnestness. It was a compliment she desperately needed, but had never quite learned to accept. Dinner? Lucas's voice broke through as he bounded back into the room, hands washed and face scrubbed, his excitement palpable. Let us get started, Clara said, hiding her nervousness beneath a smile. What do you want on your pizza? Pepperoni, Lucas exclaimed, bouncing on his heels. Pepperoni it is, Ethan chimed in, a playful sparkle in his eyes. I'll take the honor of placing the order. Clara watched, a mixture of admiration and apprehension swelling within her. This was a new experience, one she hadn't anticipated or prepared for. She fetched her phone from the kitchen as Ethan settled at the small dining table, casually surveying the surroundings. Do you have a favorite pizza place? He asked, glancing up from the menu he'd pulled up on Clara's phone. Just the local joint down the street. They know us well by now, Clara replied, laughing lightly. I think we've ordered enough pizza to keep them in business. I'll take that as a challenge, Ethan replied, his serious tone now laced with playful competition. Let us see if I can order even more. Clara chuckled, hearing the ease in his voice as he continued to scroll. It just dawned to break the bank, Mr. Billionaire. I promise I am not here to rob you, he said, feigning mock hurt. Just trying to make an impression. Before she could respond, Lucas proclaimed, Mom, can we have soda? Only if it is caffeine-free, Clara replied, a good-natured exasperation tinging her voice. As Ethan placed the order, Clara couldn't shake the strange feeling of intimacy that was beginning to settle in. It was surreal to have someone so different, yet so effortlessly engaging, in her home as if they had known each other for years. Do you have any hobbies, Ethan? Clara asked, trying to divert her thoughts from the unspoken tension brewing in the air. Besides charming single mothers, he shot back playfully, and Clara felt a blush creeping onto her cheeks. I love sailing. There is something freeing about being on the open water. Really? I can picture you in a sailing outfit, Clara teased, her mood lifting. Just because I wear suits doesn't mean I can rock a life jacket, he replied, his laughter ringing out like a melody. I might even invite you both someday. Sounds like a grand adventure, she said, her heart fluttering at the thought even if it felt impossible. Adventure is good for the soul, he said, his tone suddenly serious again. You should experience more of it. Clara hesitated, feeling the weight of his words more deeply than expected. It is hard to find the time for adventure when you are juggling responsibilities. Responsibilities are important, he replied, his expression thoughtful. But so is fulfillment. Fulfillment, she echoed, her heart aching. It seems so far off sometimes. Before he could respond, the doorbell rang, and Lucas rushed to answer it. I'll get it, he shouted, his excitement bubbling over. Perfect timing, Ethan said, glancing over his shoulder. I'll help with the pizza. As the door swung open, Clara couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. Lucas's delighted shout echoed through the apartment as he greeted the delivery person. Clara settled back against the counter, taking in the moment a simple meal, an unexpected guest, and an undeniable connection lingering in the air. As Ethan joined them, boxes in hand, Clara's heart raced. They had crossed a threshold into new territory, one filled with potential and uncertainty, and she wondered what this evening would bring. Dinner is served, Ethan announced, setting the boxes on the table with a flourish. Once they settled down, the conversation flowed easily, laughter filling the small space as they shared stories over slices of pizza. Clara found herself opening up to Ethan in ways she hadn't expected, revealing snippets of her life beyond motherhood, weaving in bits of her past and her dreams. How about you? She asked at one point, curiosity piqued. What is the day in the life of a billionaire like? Ethan chuckled, leaning back in his chair. It sounds more glamorous than it often is. Most days are filled with meetings, negotiations, and endless emails. I sometimes wish for a little chaos of my own. Chaos, huh? Clara said, her tone playful. I can send some your way if you like. Ethan laughed, their connection deepening with each shared moment. But in the back of her mind, Clara couldn't help but wonder how long this could last. What would happen when the evening ended? As the last of the pizza vanished, Lucas leaned back in his chair, his eyes half closed, a satisfied grin plastered on his face. That was the best dinner ever. I am glad you enjoyed it, Lucas, Ethan said, his voice warm. It has been a pleasure. Clara watched as Lucas yawned and stretched. All right, buddy, time for a bath and then bed, she said, rising to clear the table. Can Ethan help? Lucas asked, his eyes bright. Hash hash hash, the single mom walked into the bus stop and a billionaire smiled at her. Hash hash hash, part 4. As Clara stood, stacking empty pizza boxes, she felt a rush of warmth at Ethan's easy laughter with Lucas. The way he interacted with her son, his genuine interest sparking joy in her little boy's eyes, set her heart racing. Mom, can Ethan help? Lucas asked, his voice a delightful mix of innocence and excitement. Well, aight. Clara hesitated, trying to gauge Ethan's response. The idea of him stepping into their evening routine felt both comforting and strangely intimate. Would this be crossing a line? I'd love to help. Ethan chimed in, standing as if the idea thrilled him. That's the next step, Lucas. I am here to be your sidekick. Bath time, Lucas announced, his enthusiasm infectious. Clara couldn't help but smile at the sight of her son's excitement. Okay, but this is a team effort, Clara said, glancing at Ethan, whose expression mirrored a mix of willingness and amusement. It just dawned he expect a bubble bath or rubber duck parade. Oh, come on, I can bring the fun. Ethan grinned, his eyes sparkling with mischief, and Clara felt a flutter of nervous anticipation. As they made their way to the bathroom, Lucas dashed ahead, his small feet pattering against the floor. Clara and Ethan trailed behind, the air thick with unspoken tension. Are you sure you want to do this? Clara whispered, her heart racing. I mean, bath time can get chaotic. Ethan leaned in closer, his breath warm against her ear. I thrive on chaos. The word sent a jolt through her, stirring emotions she hadn't dared to entertain. You say that now, but we might end up soaked. Maybe I like the idea of getting soaked, he replied lightly, his playful tone making her pulse quicken. Clara shook her head, fighting a smile, and pushed open the bathroom door. Lucas, you start the water, don't make it too hot, she called out, her voice an attempt at authority. Lucas nodded, focusing intently on the faucet. Okay, Mom, I can do it. Ethan stepped in next to Clara, his presence grounding yet stirring. You really have a knack for this, he said, watching her interact with Lucas. It's lovely to see. Clara felt a blush creeping up her cheeks. Thanks, but it's just routine at this point. Routine can be beautiful too, he replied, turning to her with sincerity. You make it look effortless. I assure you it is anything but, she said, suppressing a laugh. Some days I feel like I am barely keeping it together. From what I see, you are doing wonderfully, Ethan said softly, his gaze steady. The intensity of his words sent a wave of warmth through her chest. Mom, the water is ready. Lucas interrupted, his excitement bubbling over as he climbed into the tub. All right, let the chaos commence, Clara said, rolling her eyes playfully before kneeling beside him. Grab your toys, buddy. Ethan leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, a relaxed smile on his face as he observed the playful scene unfolding. You make a great bath buddy, Clara. She laughed, feeling a sense of ease settle in. Baths are the highlight of my day, I assure you. As she helped Lucas wash up, Clara couldn't shake the feeling of Ethan's gaze on her, the warmth of his attention creating an electric atmosphere. The casual intimacy was intoxicating, yet it filled her with uncertainty. Lucas, Ethan said, leaning forward with a conspiratorial grin. Do you think your mom would ever let me join you for bath time? You will know. Lucas shouted, splashing water toward Ethan, who dodged effortlessly. Taith. Ethan feigned being splashed, laughter ringing out. I can take a splash, kiddo. Bring it on. Okay, I am stopping. Clara said, laughing as she pulled Lucas's hands away from the bathwater. Let us not drown anyone, please. As they finished up, Clara felt a sense of contentment wash over her. The laughter echoed in the small bathroom, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Once Lucas was all washed and dressed in his pajamas, he flopped onto the couch, a satisfied grin on his face. The best bath ever? I am glad you enjoyed it, Clara replied, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. She gestured for Ethan to join them, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and anxiety. You are natural, Ethan, she said, trying to keep her tone light. I am not sure how I'll repay you for surviving the chaos. Ethan chuckled, settling onto the couch next to her. How about I take you both out for ice cream next time, a reward for surviving the splash zone? Only if it has mint chocolate chip. Lucas exclaimed, his eyes sparkling. "A deal," Ethan replied, shooting the boy a playful wink. Clara felt her heart flutter at the easy banter between them, a bond forming almost effortlessly. "All right, buddy, time for bed," Clara said, rising to her feet. "You've had a big day." Lucas groaned theatrically. "Do I have to?" "Yes, and it is non-negotiable," Clara replied, crossing her arms. "Gotta rest up for tomorrow's adventures." "Fine," he said with an exaggerated sigh, standing reluctantly. "Good night, Ethan." "Good night, Lucas. Sleep tight," Ethan replied, his voice warm. As Lucas trudged down the hallway, Clara felt the air shift again. The weight of the evening settled between her and Ethan, pulsing with unspoken feelings. "Thank you for tonight. It's been nice," Clara said, her voice soft as she leaned against the doorway. "I had the best time," Ethan replied, his gaze unwavering. "You and Lucas are incredible." Clara bit her lip, the tension thickening. "I am not sure how this sus fits into my life." "It doesn't have to fit into a box, Clara," he said, his tone earnest. "What we share right now, it is something special." She swallowed, feeling the intensity of his words resonate deep within her. "But what happens when the excitement wears off? What then?" "Then we figure it out together," he said simply, reaching out to tuck a loose strand of her hair behind her ear. The warmth of his finger sent shivers down her spine. "I am not sure how to do this," she admitted, her heart racing. "I haven't dated in years. My world revolves around Lucas." "I get that," he said, his voice gentle. "But you deserve to have something for yourself too. Life is too short to ignore connections." "Connections," Clara echoed, her thoughts swirling. "What if you were just passing through? What if this is nothing but a fleeting moment?" "Then let us make it a beautiful moment," Ethan replied, his gaze steady and sincere. "No expectations, just see where it goes." Clara felt a rush of emotions, hope, fear, desire all swirling together. The chemistry between them was undeniable, igniting something within her that had long been dormant. "Okay," she said, almost breathless. "I'll try." A smile broke across Ethan's face, illuminating the room. "That is all I ask." "Just promise me one thing," Clara said, feeling bold. "If this gets too complicated, we walk away, no hard feelings." "Deal," he said, his voice steadfast. "But I don't think it will." As they stood there, the air thick with tension and possibility, Clara felt her heart race with anticipation. Perhaps this moment was the beginning of something beautiful after all. "Let us see where this goes, then," she said softly, her gaze locked onto his. Ethan took a small step closer, the distance between them diminishing. "I am looking forward to it." The unspoken promise hung in the air, and for the first time in a long while, Clara felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. The night stretched ahead, filled with possibilities she had never dared to imagine.